All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Noragami, Season 1, Episode 2.
All right, we have met our characters. We have set up our dynamic.
That's right.
We are caught in between the near and far shore with Iki.
Yep.
And I feel for you.
Yeah.
I feel for you.
And Yato, well, sorry, bud.
Yeah.
It's, eventually you will probably get more 5 yen coins.
Maybe she'll teach him how to do specific tasks that will gain him 100 yen coins, he'll be like, oh my god, what an increase in value.
Or about the power of social media for propagating this new religion.
Yeah. No, passively gaining followers.
This is literally going to be I have a new religion, to tell you about. Oh, really? What, show it to me. Tell me more.
Tell me more. Exactly. It's going to be the meme there. Yep.
And if we get more Bleach sort of references,
with
similarities,
the Regalia,
whatever.
Or the Regalia.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. If he ends up transferring to her school, that would be amazing.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have to find some way in order to be able to be seen. Because I think what this kind of thing will lead to is that he needs to gain more followers to where he can then project himself fully into the physical world so that he could actually be seen. Because one of Hiyori's friends actually did see him, but the other one did not. And I believe it was because of the proximity that they were to actually seeing him run past them when the whole car accident thing happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's also got this kind of tail thing going on as well, with regards to her soul and stuff. So we'll probably see some developments there. But how will they work together
we shall see.
To do all this? So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below. Then come back here for the discussion. All right. Okay. Yeah, we have a little bit more world building stuff, and then just, of course, the hijinks with regards to Hiyori having to deal with
leaving her body behind randomly and all that stuff. Yep, it's
very Bleach-esque and stuff.
Very Bleach-esque.
Lots of fun with it.
God, I love it. I really hope that continues because there is so much miscommunication, humor, and just general antics that can come as a result of that. And we've already seen some of it start.
Yeah.
But
I love the use of the overhead kind of look shot where my body is just lying there again.
Right, not even realizing it sometimes because from her perspective, nothing's really changed. Just, oh, whoops, you dropped your body. All right.
Oh, no, my flesh mecha.
Right. Yeah.
I left it accidentally.
I desynced, for a sec.
Right.
Yeah. But we got a third character. Yukine.
Yuki, voiced by Yuki Kaji.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. Let's have Levi and Eren all in the same thing here. And they'll fight some phantoms, together. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And with Araragi wielding the just blade sword that definitely has
nice length,
and also spiritual properties and for slaying of the supernatural, things and whatnot. Yes. Absolutely.
All for it. We got to know a little bit more about the vulnerabilities that come with Hiyori. I'm just going to stick with Hiyori. Having the tail specifically.
Yeah.
So this is something that's rather interesting in that while she can definitely do a few more things in this form, her tail is not exposed when she's in her physical body.
Right.
Which means that actually in her physical body, she can sometimes be even safer against these phantoms.
Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward kind of a thing.
Right. And the idea that she kind of did a little, let me taunt and tease you over here. Yeah. And he's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Even though that was something more just by grabbing it, he actually hurt her for a little bit. Just there was that electric jolt.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was a physical reaction. That was something that she felt and was like, ow, what the hell are you doing? And that's something that's rather cool because we get to see, one, he's a good boy, he cares about her, and he doesn't want to see her get hurt, but also that in this spirit form, basically, you can still have really permanent consequences to your actions,
right,
if you're not careful.
That was one of the things that, like, I always wanted to see in Bleach, because in that it was more of just like, okay, you have another body, right?
Yep.
And you bleed just the same and all that stuff, and
there's no real threat to it, really.
Right, and it's not like that's necessarily a problem, but it's just like, it would have been cool to have something more different and imaginative, right? So here, in one, it was all done through showing in this for the most part, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But now there's two things that they set up, because there's the whole idea of the blight, right?
Yep.
Which is okay, awesome, right? And then there was the whole possession idea, which I'm not sure if the blight
was
is
discussed
that.
in the previous episode.
Yeah, okay. And then there's the whole thing with the tail, so it's like that's the critical area, do not get that hurt. All right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Exactly. So the idea of the possession thing was something that was in the very beginning of the first episode, where the students were bullying the one kid, and then that negative energy attracted the phantoms, which then ended up possessing the kid and took them into a place where they were seriously in a bad spot. And then Yato showed up with his then Regalia, and slew the Phantom and defeated it, basically. Right.
And not only did we introduce another character, but we also solved one of the issues that had been introduced of the lack of Regalia, right? And so that's another element of the world that introduced a conflict, right? Because Yato didn't have one.
Yep.
And now we have addressed that conflict, but also set up future conflict and world building in the fact that now we have someone who also doesn't necessarily know what it means to be a Regalia, and they can learn as the story goes on.
Along with Hiyori, which is pretty sweet. Also, we got to see just a little bit of slice of life element stuff with regards to Yato. Yato-san, Yato-sama. I think we'll just go with Yato. Yato. Him just going and doing these odd jobs for 5 yen. I still think it has to be something where it's one of these two things here, is that it's either the 5 yen is something due to his own, like, he doesn't have a lot of self-worth with regards to things, so he doesn't see himself as being worth more. That's a very human, I would say, response to things. Or it's something where we don't understand necessarily what kind of transaction is going on here, because there's some extra value to it beyond just the monetary thing of how much he'll need to get a shrine. One of the things that my immediate kind of thoughts go to is the idea of immortality, is that there is nothing that says he, as a god, is in any rush. Like,
sure,
he will eventually, over the course of eons
he'll
of
save
time,
up many bottles full of 5 yen coins.
Who knows? But like, there's things about this world that have an element of wonder and mystery to it, to where I'm excited for them to not necessarily explain the world, but actually to see how these characters react to the world.
Yeah.
Because we have people that are, adept, and they've in some ways mastered their place within the world. Not really as much for Yato, but if Yato exists, that means there are others who are beyond him and above him that
He's at the very least competent.
He's at the very least competent enough to where he can explain a lot of things to Hiyori. And then Hiyori having moments of like, I just bounce along, telephone wires and just, enjoying this. This is fun. This is awesome. And that's good.
And then realizing, wait a minute, he hasn't contacted me or told me anything about this, which, like, I love, because a transition like that, would be absolutely crazy. That it would be, it'd be whack, right? And she's handling it very well. Her friends also are handling it very well with her, collapsing randomly.
To them, they just feel like this is the car accident thing.
Right, it's a byproduct of, her getting hurt. But it's something where there would be potentially some fear to it, but which she, is not really needing to deal with too much. But there would also be that wonder. And a lot of times when you get into the point where someone else comes in and is alongside you and explaining everything, you can still have that wonder, but I feel like it's harder because then because wonder, I feel like, inherently comes in when you don't necessarily understand something. Right? And it causes you to wonder, right? For your mind to try and fill in the blanks and just be taking it in, right? You don't understand what's going on, so it's just observation, right? And that's the state that she was in for a lot of this episode.
Yeah, totally.
And seeing how that happened for her in her own daily life and things like that, of just being like, oh yeah, I'm going to school, but
oops, I dropped out of my body again.
Well, I dropped out of my body again, but also things like, I see a little spirit there. It's not in danger from some crazy monster that I need to defend it against. It's just, it's under that chair. I hope the person doesn't fall off and hurt it or something like that, or, and that kind of stuff is really cool because it's those details that aren't necessary for like the grand narrative kind of a thing, but it makes it feel way more immersive so that when conflicts come up later, I feel more invested and I feel like I believe it more because there were all these little extra sprinkles thrown in.
Right, yeah. And then the show has a really good presentation on the things that it wants to draw a lot of focus to. I'm really impressed with the way they decided to showcase the designating of a regalia. I'm going to have to figure out and decide on which pronunciation I want to do for that word. But the idea that it went into something that reminded me very much of Fate. The idea of summoning a servant.
Become my servant,
Yeah. And yet, there's this element that was brought up in the first episode that wasn't really present here. The idea of a regalia quitting. Being like, I'm done with you. I'm not doing this anymore. Which wasn't a factor here. This spirit had no choice, seemingly, in the matter. A higher being came and designated some aspect of power to this small little spirit here. So what that brings to mind in my mind is that there's going to be some kind of progression for a spirit that gets designated at regalia so that they grow in either power or ability or will or individuality or something so that they can move on in some meaningful way in the world of spirits and stuff. So I think that whole setup, it feels like it set up an entire story that they could go into depending on how much focus they give Yukine.
I totally agree. It was something where it felt like a rebirth, both from the literal sense of taking on this new form, but then also this chance at a new life, given the past that Yukine had, right? You don't need to be afraid anymore, right? But then there's also this idea of this, he didn't really have much individuality or will or state in that form. It seemed like he was just sort of like
poofy puff ball with a little woo mouth.
A little poofy puff ball just drifting around, right? And then this was like a consolidation of, all right, I'm giving you new life,
purpose and life,
and purpose and everything. And this is kind of the new birthday, essentially, right? And then moving forward, then that might be something where he starts to take on his own personality and things like that. Maybe even has a rebellious phase. Who knows, right? And with the previous regalia, I get the feeling that was a regalia that, and this is just me assuming, that was already a regalia before Yato made them his regalia.
Made the pact with them or something.
I can totally be wrong.
That's possible.
But, and if I am wrong, then that'll be interesting to see when
what kind of stuff they do with that.
Gets to that point of enough individuality that he truly decides for himself to stay with Yato or not.
Speaking about kind of past stuff, though, when Yukine became a sword, there was an experience that Yato had when he wielded the sword. He caught a flash of images, which I assume to be Yukine's life, like his life story, his memories and everything from when he was a human. At that point, though, what's kind of inferred, I would say, is that it's also something that he experiences. Meaning that when Yato made the pact and made this kind of agreement here to wield him, basically, he had to bear all of the memories, the life, the burdens, the emotions, and all of that. And in that moment, it overwhelms him because Yato is a being of emotion. Just to keep it simple there. And that's something that I think is rather cool to explore. Is that in Bleach, there's the idea of them being the swords being a projection kind of the soul of the wielder.
Right.
Like there's this intricate relationship, even though they can have separate,
they can be separate entities.
But in this, it's more of at that point of designation of a regalia, Yato has now this buildup of a relationship that could be, but it's based around an instant moment of just transmitting all that data and memory.
Yeah, some kind of memory share.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I really liked how that was handled. Like the world is really starting to draw me in, and something like this, it feels so much more natural to me than the idea of just sort of something more simple as the manifestation of sort of your inner self in a different form,
right?
You know? Because
that's her tale, if anything.
Right, exactly. Because as a god, right, one of the things that he's supposed to do is hear the prayers of his followers, right? And what this almost felt like to me was something where it was all the prayers, all the yearnings of Yukine in his life that might not have necessarily been to a specific god or anything like that, but that basically he now has that connection because he's chosen Yukine, he's given Yukine this new life. So now he has to be aware of all that. He has to sort of take it in himself, because in order to do any kind of response to prayers, say if he were to get any from Yukine, then that would be something that he would need.
Yeah. Also, the stuff that they flashed in the images of the story and stuff feel very sad.
Oh yeah,
because there's the idea of a family, I think, being split apart. Suitcases. Looked like he was leaving with his mother or something, and then he ends up alone. And then there's just a bunch of letters left there, and then someone seemingly masculine steps on them all, shows them all in a big mess there with a bunch of stuff strewn about the floor, then a bunch of beer, bunch of money opened up, and then we show the whole classic thing of the anime character that is smiling, but you can't see their eyes. So you doubt the smile because it's coming from a place probably of forced, happiness. So I'm sensing some depth going to come eventually with regards to Yukine, and that there's a reason why he's a young boy.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
That's not going to be
at some point
happy.
He died, and
it was probably when he was a kid,
and he was probably when he was a teenager. Yeah. So
yeah. I wonder how much actually, and this is something that I would love to see. I wonder how much actually Yuki remembers himself.
That's the thing. He might not.
Right. What if this is an actual reincarnation in that Yato takes all the memories,
and that's how he gives him a blank slate.
And he basically says, "Here's your new name. Here's your new purpose."
Right.
And he keeps all the personality and stuff, but he takes away maybe the pain of all the specific things that were regarding his death. Maybe
he takes away his fears. Maybe that's not something that's supposed to be inferred.
I don't think you would take
from this
too much, because then they wouldn't be
Well, right. You can get all technical on stuff like that. But,
sure.
But the idea that he was giving him a chance to basically say this is something new, right?
Right.
You don't have to be afraid anymore. And given that the form that he was in was something of such raw. Not necessarily emotion, because we didn't see any emoting really from the little fluff ball much, right? But that basically it was an uncomplicated state, right? And that could be because of a lack of things, or because there's so much stuff in there that's just what it is, right? It doesn't have any structure to it.
Yato described him when he saw him off to the side. He was a young kid. And he described him with a couple adjectives to showcase that he would be perfect for a regalia.
Right.
And when they're running along the rooftops here. He goes, wait a minute.
Yeah. Teenager, a boy.
Yeah, just a kid, a teenager specifically. And then he gives a little bit. Oh, does he not give any more? A difficult age.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if anything, he kind of gave that little bit of, and then he just says he'll do. Okay. So I think what it is that he just inferred a little bit of like, oh dang, you died as a teenager.
That
is a difficult age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Difficult age in general, and you died. Yeah.
But then I think he could also sense by, like you're saying, the simplistic kind of look that was pure and innocent there. There's that bit where he looks at it and goes, oh, okay, yeah, you'll be perfect, actually.
Right, you haven't been touched by the corruption and all that stuff.
Of all,
the spirit mojo.
Right,
yet.
Right. So what it also might have been is that you died recently, too.
Sure.
So, yeah, that might actually be the other hint about why he was there potentially the whole time, is that if he just recently died, imagine in this, world of spirits, you die, you are in a chaos bed of just not understanding what is beyond death. So you just hang out the one spot that you're familiar with. Like that might have been like the mailbox for his home.
Well, one of the things that,
the letters.
Oh, one of the things that we saw in the thing with the letters, mailbox.
Yeah.
Parent split, that'd be kind of an important place for him, the place that he got the letters, especially since if he, say, ended up going with like his dad or something, and his dad was like the one that killed him or something like that. I don't know. But it definitely seemed like there was a bad situation there. Then, yes, he would absolutely be looking forward to one, any time that he could be out of the house. But two, anytime that he would get that connection and feedback and communication with the other parent.
With the letters and stuff.
Yep.
And then that's when the father looked like probably stepped on the letters, basically treading upon them and saying, no more of this.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I'm guessing some kind of divorce situation. He went either with the mother or the father.
And he probably had to choose.
He probably, yeah. But then he's in communication with the other one, and the whoever it was got upset,
right?
And then either stopped the contact, or then in drunken, what have you, did something and killed him. So
yeah,
I wonder if this will ever turn into, the kind of he can see the spirits, or they can see the spirits, so they, solve murder mysteries and stuff. Because I don't really want the show to go into that. I love this more slice of life kind of element where there's the action stuff that happens more just with the spirit stuff. But I don't want it to be too much of the investigating the real world kind of thing. I mean, I would be fine with it, but I like the direction it's going in right now.
So I'm totally with you in that I wouldn't prefer that, but one of the reasons why I really like what they're doing here so far, and if they did do that real world investigation type stuff, I could still see it being really good, is because one of the reasons I love the idea of spirits and stuff is because it's a physical representation, even though it's more a spiritual representation, but it's a representation in the story mechanically of the characters being put into a place of absolute vulnerability. Potentially, hopefully, right?
So there's less filters as to what we're seeing.
Exactly. So getting at who the person really is, that can be a lot faster. You can have a lot more sort of heart-to-heart communication between the characters.
Because you spend less time building up to it, because it just makes sense that they would be.
Exactly.
Right.
And given the fact that we've been focusing on a lot of slice of life elements so far, even though there still is the action, that gives me hope that would be, even if it's not the entire focus of the show, or not always the main focus at a particular part of the show, that's something that the creator realizes is incredibly important.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, especially in the beginning when you're establishing the characters and everything, and it makes us care more about the world, because it's not just the world itself. The world itself is really interesting already, but it's the characters within it that make us really attached.
Yeah, I think that's another just thing that's kind of fun, is that the conflict of this story doesn't matter until the characters matter. So you can't bring in just a conflict quickly just to shove in the fact that the characters are important. You can, you can do Attack on Titan basically, and just conflict, bam, and but that requires really good specific things to make sure that it's set up to hit you with that specific thing. So, love this stuff. This is a great discussion. I think we got like really in depth into the thing with Yuki. And y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. If you haven't heard of it, it's pretty awesome. And it's on Amazon. Go check it out. The link is in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.